Well, I'm here with your Impact review. And you know, the thing about TNA Impact is. Well, wait a minute. What the hell? Tonight's show is actually watchable? You gotta be kidding me. I almost forgot. This episode of Impact actually wasn't that bad. So let's get right down to it. They opened the show with an Ultimate X match. Now, you know that they are on all cylinders here. Desperate. They want this to work because last week was an ultimate fail. So we go from the ultimate fail to the ultimate X. Makes perfect sense to me. This was a good match. Actually really good. I give it 3 stars. Unfortunately, Chris Sabin, excellent talent, got injured during this match. Obviously blew out his knee. I don't know if it's serious, how long he's going to be out for. You're going to have to check out PW Torch or Lords of Pain for that information. But this matchup was full of high spots. Great stuff here, great spots. I loved when Zima Ion dropped down off the top from the cables onto Aries' shoulders, and he airplane spinned them. Great spot there. Also a Frankensteiner spot where Austin Aries was hanging on, just drops down onto Ion on the turnbuckle. So this matchup was mostly Aries and Ion, and I'm a fan of Ion. He's a jobber, but he's a talented jobber, and this was a really good opening match. This was 3 stars, and it probably would have been even better. I could even guess probably like it would have been 3.5 or something like that. In regards to Sabin if he weren't injured, but guess that's the case. After the match, Aries gets on the mic and says that he's not happy, he's not satisfied with the X Division Championship, and he wants some more. Hulk Hogan comes out and puts Aries over. Hulk Hogan started talking about himself, and I was like, oh my god, are you fucking serious? I thought Hulk Hogan was just going to go on and on forever. I mean, I think he did go a little bit overboard, plugging himself. But anyway, he put Aries over pretty well, so this was a good promo. The one thing I didn't like about it is that I think Aries should have interacted with Hogan more. He was more just going, yeah, But, it was good, and Aries already had his promo, so now it's time for Hogan to tell Aries what he has to do. And what he pretty much told him is that he's got to give up the X Division Championship if he wants to pursue the world title. So, this is interesting. There came a time when in TNA where actually the X Division, the World Championship were on the same level. That was back in 2004, 2005. At least they wanted you to think that way. That's what the announcer said. Now it's kind of obvious that it's a secondary, like, intercontinental title. But anyway, that's good. And it's good to see Aries in the main events. Anything to get Bobby Roode out of the world title picture. Up next, we got Devon defeating Hernandez in a horrifically bad match. Botches all over the place. Hernandez, there's this one spot where Hernandez flips on top of the turnbuckle, which looked okay, but then he slips. And he continues to slip and can't get his foot on the top rope. So Devon just stays there, waiting, looking really fake. And then finally, when he gets his footing, Hernandez launches off the top of the clothesline and botches the whole thing. Worst flying clothesline I've ever seen. Then Devon just quickly spinebusters him and ends this horrendous excuse for a match. This is bad. Hernandez sucks. People say that, Hernandez is an agile big man. Why? Because he could perform a suicide dive like pretty much every single wrestler on the independent circuit. Anyway, Devon is just a horrendous TV champion. I mean, notice the word horrendous, horrible keeps coming up in my vocabulary. I mean, there's no other way I could describe it. I mean, it was a bad fucking match, and the TV championship is garbage, even if it is defended every week. It has a horrible champion that produces horrible matches. Yeah, so anyway, next up we've got the gauntlet matchup, which is not a gauntlet match at all. A gauntlet match is one guy versus a stream of opponents, usually about three. This was actually a Royal Rumble. Jeff Hardy started off the match with AJ Styles, and every 90 minutes a guy would come in the ring. That's a Royal Rumble match. They just don't want to call it a Royal Rumble match, but it's not a gauntlet match, so I don't even understand why they're calling it that. Anyway, this was another pretty decent matchup. There was a lot of great guys in here. Elijah Burke returned. James Storm was in there. You had RVD. RVD actually looked good here. Usually I'm not a fan of the TNA version of RVD. He's a slow, battered version of himself. But this was a good one. Storm ends up winning it. I'm not a big fan of Storm with his enormous TNA push. Samoa Joe, who was eliminated last, should have won this. I wouldn't even mind seeing someone like Elijah Burke getting to the top. It's just that Burke isn't the best on the mic, and I guess that's what they're worried about. But they're obviously not too concerned about mic skills because James Storm isn't much better. I like this match, and it had a lot of good things coming from it. Everybody who was in it, sans Robbie E, looked pretty good. I mean, they all hit their signature spots. So yeah, I think Jeff Hardy got injured during this because he was eliminated first. Not really too sure. Abyss made an appearance. There was a lot of things going on in this match, so I really liked it. Up next, we got Storm cutting a promo, and this is just a generic as fuck promo. Every single promo that Storm cut sounds similar. All the promos that they've been showing, the pre-tape promos of him down on his ranch, they all sound the same. They're so emotional. They sound crybaby. They sound like just fucking emo. And I don't understand. James Storm's supposed to be a tough guy, but he doesn't really act like one. And it doesn't matter how much beer he fucking guzzles down his throat. He still seems like a crybaby in his promos to me. Up next was Brooke Tessmacher defeating Madison Rayne. I'm not a big fan of Madison Rayne's skills, but she looked a little bit better in this. Selling seemed a little bit better. It seemed a little bit more fluid. Tessmacher looked a lot better. So you know what the thing is? You know how the divas don't improve in WWE? They just continue to produce the same level of shit? Well, you know what? Actually, the knockouts do improve. I'm not a big fan of the knockouts division either, but Tessmacher looked better. She hits a nightmare on Helm Street and gets the pinfall. So, not a bad match. Not great. But it was passable, and that was very pleasing. And, whenever you see a match on Raw from the Divas, it's usually a dud. But this one wasn't bad. So, I liked it. Up next, we had Bobby Roode and Mr. Kennedy. And this was, there was a lot of good exchanges in this. The only thing is that it was too damn short. I give the match, like a 1.75 stars. I'm going to think. Why? Because it was just so damn short. And what pissed me off about this match is that they had a pay-per-view match to set up for it. And it just seemed like a waste because it wasn't really that great. I mean, Anderson looked good in it. There was a couple of good exchanges and counters, but it just didn't last long enough to really have any substance for me to rate it any higher. So, yeah, disappointing. Up next, we had Dixie Carter and AJ Styles with their horrible acting. They're going to come clean next week. Boring as shit. Dragged out. So we have to put up with that garbage next week. Up next, we got Sting. He was announced as the first Hall of Famer in TNA history. They're inducting him. Comes out, starts cutting a generic, boring promo. I've never been crazy about Sting promos ever. Not even in WCW when he actually was a good wrestler and I was a fan. This was just a boring fucking promo. And then all of a sudden, some gigantic versions of Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Reptile come out of nowhere and just start beating him up. Totally random, weird. I think they were the Mortal Kombat characters. I can't be too sure, but it looked like it to me. You know, and the show just ends with them still beating him. Kind of an awkward ending. The guys didn't look tough. They just looked goofy in their masks. They looked like, you know, like poor versions of the Mortal Kombat characters. Sort of like the ones you would invite to a birthday party for a 10-year-old. So yeah, shitty way to end the night. But there were 2 good matches. You know, Rude and Anderson wasn't bad. It was just short. Tessmacher and Rain was passable. So really, the only fucking shitty match was Devon and Hernandez. So this was a decent show. You know, just hampered by a couple of things that sucked, like pretty much all the promos except for the Aries and Hogan ones. So yeah, it was a decent night, and I'm very surprised. I hope this trend continues.